There are no words adequate to explain the depth of our loss or the magnitude of our sorrow, the death of our colleague, George Del Rio. Is even more so for his wife, Kathy, their daughters, grandchildren, other family members, friends, neighbors, and the many others whose lives he touched. And there are no words to adequately convey his love of life, family, friends, or the dedication to his law enforcement career and to the service of our community, our state, and our country. But to not make a valiant attempt to find such words would lack courage, tenacity, and compassion. The very traits that Detective George Del Rio exuded. So we must try to find them. Others have just done so. I will try to find the words. The right words, the best words to do so. Although even in their ultimate inadequacy to convey the profound matters of the heart, it matters a great deal. It matters a great deal to acknowledge the life and sacrifice of Detective Del Rio. George served with honor and valor for 3 decades. He served his family, his community, and his nation. He served in a manner which he could be counted upon to perform at the highest level of dedication and professionalism. He served as a teacher and coached dozens of other detectives in the art of investigation. He served as a teammate, never hesitating to step away from his own work to help his friends and his coworkers. In his final act as a Dayton police detective and as an agent for the Drug Enforcement Administration, he served on a team to remove a massive quantity of deadly narcotics from our community. In doing so, he moved unhesitatingly towards danger and made the greatest sacrifice possible within the nobility of the law enforcement profession. He acted with great courage, heart, commitment, and dedication, as he had done throughout his career. Doing so, George, along with his law enforcement partners, also acted to prevent the mass casualties within and beyond our community that would have inevitably occurred if the large quantity of toxic drugs that had been amassed been allowed to hit the streets of our communities. George's selfless action and his ultimate sacrifice is reminiscent of what Abraham Lincoln called the last full measure of devotion. It is incumbent upon us, particularly his colleagues and fellow law enforcement officers, to act as Lincoln advocated by taking increased devotion to that cause for which he, George, gave the last full measure of devotion. Detective Del Rio not only served to advance the nobility of his profession, he served to bring people together. His warm and generous spirit touched everyone he knew. His colleagues describe him as a dedicated family man. You have already heard that time and time again. When he's not at work, he was with his family. When he was at work, he spoke fondly about his family. He spoke with great pride about his daughters and with great love for his wife, Kathy. As already been mentioned, he was known to love food and insisted upon eating like a civilized person. He rejected a more typical cop diet of fast food from drive-through windows. George preferred to sit at tables in restaurants and often invited colleagues from all parts of his professional life to dine together. He brought people together. When those people sat for meals, they forged friendships and strong working relationships. George served to create community. His light shined brightly throughout his 30-year career, during which his expertise in drug enforcement work took him beyond the Dayton city limits, beyond the borders of Ohio, and had effect beyond the borders of the United States. His valor took him into the vast arena of combating illicit drug trafficking, the arena of great causes in life. And he did so, as expressed in the words of Teddy Roosevelt, while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold, timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. Detective Del Rio spent his entire career in the gritty arena of law enforcement while daring greatly. His exemplary performance is defined by great achievements not known by timid souls. He left a legacy of service and sacrifice to this noble profession that is rare even among the best of us. Our hearts are broken, but fixed on the great task before us, that we may follow with increased devotion to honor his life, his courage, his persistence, and his compassion. While there are truly no adequate words to honor George Del Rio's service and sacrifice, the following video, with its images, music, and words, approaches the honor which is so justly deserved. Franklin Covey's The Nobility of Policing. Please direct your attention to the video. In closing, I offer the following wish for blessings to Detective Del Rio, his family, friends, all those whose lives he touched, for the men and women who have shared with him the indestructible fabric of the thin blue line. May you be safe and free from harm. May you be at peace. May you at all times be held in love and met with compassion.